Hi. Again, it's Wednesday evening. I just did one, and just want to add something I did to the Parsha today. I thought about it in Shul, and it's kind of cute. I'll just share this in Parshas Yisro, of course. We were talking before this morning about the relationship between father-in-law and son-in-law, especially the fact that Yisro had this strange situation where when Moshe got married, he had to swear, and he did swear that the first child that they would have, the Bechor, would be raised by Yisro and Avodah Zarah, like Gershom, not the second one. And Moshe agreed. Um, and it says, by Yoel Moshe L'Shem Ish, which literally means he agreed to live with him, but Chazal say he swore. And from Lashon Ola B'Shua B'Sel Chamech. And therefore, the thing he swore was to honor the agreement, which he did honor. And I raised the point this morning because I was thinking more in a rational kind of way. Why would Moshe agree to that? Guess he had no choice. He was a fugitive, and so on and so forth. Um, but then Yisro now comes and brings the child because Yisro sees that, the devil Israel was false. I want to say, like I say, it's like, Ghana the Pope, if you have one of these types of approaches that looks at it from a leadership point of view, just a little bit, just a little bit. We have a whole thing, like I mentioned this morning, that a certain type of oaths that you take don't mean anything. If I say I'm going to bow down to an idol, it doesn't mean anything. I don't need a Torah Sandorum for that. If I swear in 100 Bibles that I'm going to go and kill somebody, I do need a Torah Sandorum for that. You see? The thing doesn't start in the beginning. It doesn't start in the first place. There are certain languages that are such offensive or whatever that according to the rules, they don't count. But you could kind of, as someone said to me in Shul, it's before Matan Torah. And maybe all those rules change in Matan Torah. Really, 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 it doesn't make any sense. Because what are you going to say? Before Matan Torah, it was okay to worship Avodah Zarah. You know what I'm saying? No, it's not Mustaber. However, like I said before, if you point in your junior Abish's hat, as I say always, you could say like this. I just thought this is cute. Yisro was a Kohen Gadol Midian. He met this guy, Moses, who was some Egyptian, Ish Mitzri, Silani Yadaron. And he had 6 daughters. He got unloaded them somewhere. Therefore, he married a daughter of even to a fugitive. That's the story. But he said, I don't know what your religion is, baby, but the first kid being raised in my religion, which may have been standard operating procedure in pagan neighborhoods. I could totally hear this. I'm from Moab. You're from Edom. My kid marries your kid. The first kid will worship the gods of Moab. The second one, the third one, will marry the gods of Edom. Maybe they split the waters like that in the old days. It's very logical. It could be. If he made Moshe swear to it, obviously he saw Moshe kept, believes in a single God by this time. And the Moshe's in his 70s, right? And, he's not into this typical situation, but Yisro insists and Moshe swears. Now, if I wanted to be very, you could say, Yisro held that before Mount Torah that even Nishbal Lavras Avera still counts him, and Moshe held not. But even if you don't say like that, the fact of the matter is, and this is logical, Yisro knew that Moshe is a Jew, Hebrew, and he knew that he was an Egyptian also, and he knew he's fleeing from Pharaoh, who's out to get him, and he knows Moshe believes at least in some powerful God. Whether Yisro believes it or not, who knows? If you're a Kohen Gadol and Midian, there's a lot of gods out there. You have yours. This one has his. This girl has hers. That's what polytheism is. That's what paganism is. The deity is spread among many different deities. And so you can understand. You believe in this invisible God. I believe in the gods of Midian who are visible gods. So I want the kids to be raised in my religion. Or the first one anyway, Gershom. Sure, let it be. And so he figured if he swears to it, Moshe will keep his word. And Moshe did keep his word, which I can only imagine. I'm just thinking out loud. Moshe is like, it's to me, to break the word would be like a Chil Hashem, even though it's a little counterintuitive, because, you're breaking the word where you say you allow your kid to worship idols. But I could also hear from the other way around. Moshe was a fugitive. He said he's a monotheist. If he breaks his word, it goes to show you Jews are liars. whatever twisted logic it was. And so the first kid was raised in the paganism. Now, that means he believes in the gods that made him. Maybe he also believes in the gods of the Jews, which is one among many deities. And Yisro figured he got the better of the bargain. But then comes something very interesting. Vayishma Yisro. Mashmu Shama. He heard about the Kriyas Yamsuf, about the 10 plagues, all the rest of it. Even Moshe didn't know this. I always try to point out, do you think that the Moshe at the end of Shmos is identical to Moshe at the beginning of Shmos? It's a story of continuous evolution. Moshe is learning more about God as time goes on. And, Moshe didn't know everything in the beginning. He saw at the burning bush and, Elohei Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Bakod, Bakadishchem, and all that. But he doesn't know the Maimonidean monotheism, which Eino Milvado literally, and everything else is just a figment of the imagination, if that. And all the religions around the world, if you pile them all together, even though they have millions of adherents and giant temples and priesthoods and ceremonies and panoplies, it doesn't mean anything. It's all a giant illusion. That he doesn't know until Moshe himself, and therefore Yisro watching from afar, says, wow, Dom Sfardei Akin Amar Devrishkin, and the Egyptian can't stop this. So my God is not only my ancestral God, who I feel obligated to worship because my ancestor did, going back to Abraham, but he's more powerful than all the other gods. And by the time it's over, he is the only God. Because Mashmu Shama, have you heard about the Kriyas Yamsuf? It says, V'chol Elohei Mitzrayim Eseh Shvatim. I will punish, which I think would mean I will expose the falseness of all the gods of Egypt, and by extension all the other gods. And Yisro was not a dummy, and he heard from afar what was going on, and it must have been theologically very crunching for him, because as a theologian who had tried different religions, we're told, he was sort of an expert in religion. And to say that all the 5 years he spent in graduate school was a waste of time, studying all the rituals of this deity and that one and all the rest, simply Eino Milvado, must have been a bummer. And now, after that, Yisro feels like a fool. He made Moshe swear that he would let the kid be raised in Avodah Zarah. But Yisro himself now sees the futility of that, the falseness of that. And therefore, he's basically saying, I can't hold you to your oath, because I myself didn't realize what was going on. Now I myself can see Eino Milvado. And so maybe for Parnos, I'll go back to the Pidgin. Religion and Parnos are two different things. I know plenty of Chazanim that were in non-kosher shuls could then make a living. For Parnos, you do whatever you need to do. But in terms of really, really what he knew and he believed, he said, I've got to bring Gershom back because I simply filled his head full of nonsense. I wouldn't have believed it, but now that I see that Moses' God is not just a God, but he's Bariola and, complete control of everything, and everything, only lasts as long as this God of Moses, he's the only thing there. Eino Milvado, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. These are revolutionary concepts. One so pashut. So whatever I made Moshe swear to, doesn't count anymore. Therefore, I'm going to bring your kid back. So when he hears the Shmuel Shama and the Kriyas Yamsuf, and according to some Matan Torah, depending how you learn it, and the Amalek and all the other business, he said, I am bringing your kids back, and I want you to deprogram Gershom, because that's what it boils down to. I want to deprogram Gershom, because unfortunately I filled his head full of nonsense, and it was just a mistake. That's all. It was a bummer. So in that case, the oath that he took was now seen as, what's the right word? It can't stand even Lafi Yisro, and that's why he brings his kid back. I just wanted to share that idea because it brings out in dramatic fashion the nature of the relationship between the father-in-law and son-in-law. He does not say, I screwed up. Just like every other father-in-law, he focuses on Moshe's faults. Navol Tibol, you're not running the Beis Dins right and all the rest of it. But Yisro knew doggone well what his own faults were, and so did Moshe, which is why he took his advice and told him to hit the road. Anyway, that's what I think, and I wanted to share that before the end of the week. And with that, I wish you a good evening.